Rapids. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good morning and welcome to Saratoga today, right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with good friend and co-host from the Saratoga Special, who just finished their last edition. It's sad, it is closing weekend, but what a great job by the Clancy's, Paul, everyone involved with the Saratoga Special, and of course from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mr. Paul Halloran. Halloran, I'll tell you what, it's sort of sad to see it go, but it has been a long meet. It's probably ready to turn the page. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Howard. Yeah, it is. It's funny. You're right. It's the great irony, right? It's a long meet, but it goes by very fast. I think that's because the intensity level is, it starts at like a 12 out of 10, and it goes up from there, right? Maybe it ratchets down, I think, a little after Travers. I'm never there after Travers, but everyone seems to enjoy it. That, it's almost a normal pace. It's funny, I wrote about that when I was writing about Cody's Wish, staying at Saratoga to train for the Breeders' Cup 2 years ago, the first Breeders' Cup. I just described it as, it's after the meet, after the Travers, and then after the meet ends, especially, the training track's still open till December. So the pace just kind of comes down to a human level, which would be different.
It sure does. Toga Max, I've not seen Toga Max in the chat. Hello, guys. A lot of races today. Let's hit them hard. Just finished my handicapping. Terrific, Toga Max. Thanks for joining the show. Of course, we got Katie's here. Very quickly, we're getting into the handicapping. A few things. First of all, the great Andy Byer is coming on Talking Horses this morning. I think it starts at 10:30 Eastern, and they probably start handicapping about 10:40. So we're going to be a little bit quicker this morning out of respect to and homage to the great Andy Byer and, of course, Andy Serling as well, the two Andys. On this podcast today, Paul, very exciting. Equine Edge, we are collaborating with them starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. We're showing live racing from Kentucky Downs, live audio from Saratoga and Del Mar. I will be on for a bunch of it, co-hosting. And then later on in the show, I think I'm going to be hosting, of course, with the Equine Edge guys for Del Mar. So it's going to be a long later afternoon, early evening, but a lot of fantastic races and some very exciting things happening right here on the channel for the first time, collaborating with Equine Edge and showing live racing with video, Paul, because that's what we all like. It's like the OTB. No reason to watch Fox or anything else or FanDuel. Just come here, right, Paul?
Well, it's look at where you've come from to where you are now. Look at you now.
I know. Look at us. Look at us. It's us, Paul. All right, let's jump in. Really quickly, of course, we're live here, 10:05 Eastern, Saturday morning. Thanks for joining us here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I've not seen scratches yet, Paul. Anyone out there listening, watching, if you get scratches, just let us know scratches are in, and we'll put them up right away. I've not seen scratches yet. They should be coming in very soon. In fact, I was checking X also, and I didn't see anything on there. So, Paul, let's just go ahead and jump in, and maybe we can just go through scratches towards the end of the show if necessary. I've got banners I'm going to put up on the screen here, of course, for our picks. We're going over the early pick five this morning, everyone. Again, actually, we didn't cover late pick five, Paul, this week, but we did cover the 3 stake races. So check out our show from Wednesday night. I think it was episode 369. If you want to look into our preview of 6 stake races, 3 at Saratoga, 3 at Kentucky Downs. The first 2 races, Paul, are main races, and we've got workout reports and information. So let's just jump right in. This is a 2-year-old race on dirt. The opening race, 6.5 furlongs. It is, as you can see, for horses sold or RNA for $50,000 or less. So these are horses that were not bought very expensively. There was a big morning line favorite, a Florida bred, number 4, Printer's Alley, Pletcher, and Irad. Not only 6-5, I think, because of the connections, but the workouts look very good, Paul, especially for horses that are sold for $50K or less.
Yeah, he worked with a horse called Gate to Wire, who won for Todd Pletcher yesterday, Howard, and the people who were watching yesterday. Gate to Wire won. I believe it was his debut as well. So, Pletcher with 2-year-old first-time starters in dirt sprints is 24%. 1,000 Words is 20% with 2-year-old first-time starters.
Yeah, how about that?
Which I'm
first crop sire. Amazing.
Well, I'm happy to hear, Howard. I own a very small piece of a horse with Zilla called A Million Stories, who was by 1,000 Words. So there. It's going to be
Nice.
eventually run with Tom Morley, and how we should send out our best
yes.
and condolences. Anyone who was watching yesterday saw that horrific spill, and I mean, Tom Morley's horse was backing up. He wasn't going to win, but he had a catastrophic injury. He went down, caused Javier Castellano to go down. Thank God both jockeys walked away. Javier's horse got loose, but they caught him. But unfortunately, the Big Torpedo, Howard, who I'd have to look, but he's certainly one of the best horses in Morley's barn, if not the best. And to lose him, coming off a New York bred stakes win, and so it's just gutting to really to anyone who watches, and especially Howard. I know you go out on the back stretch and you go up there. I'm out there every day when I'm out there, and there's just no doubt about the connection between these people and these horses. So all the best to Tom and Maggie and his whole team.
Hey, Paul, I want to interject.
Big Torpedo.
I echo those sentiments. I was not watching live. I was very busy. I'm glad I wasn't watching live. We should say that's the only fatality the entire meet during the races. There's been 2 others. One I think was not even related to training, and there's one other one. So there were 14 deaths last year. Look, any death is bad, but it's horse racing. We all know that. There were 14 deaths last year, Paul. This year, that was only the 3rd. So again, let's make sure we all have in perspective. A lot of improvements have been made, and they've been great. But unfortunately, yesterday, it was ugly. Anyway, Printer's Alley's live. Solid B workouts for Printer's Alley. By the way, Printer's Alley is 99-1 right now. Wow, not taking a lot of. Well, they haven't opened the toe yet, obviously. But anyway, Printer's Alley, very live. I went Friday surprise second, just other speed. The horse that's clearly run the best of the horses that have actually hit the track. There's other firsters. You got to check the board, Paul, basically.
Yeah. Although, the 4 is going to be the 4 is going to be a prohibitive favorite. So
right. I meant the other.
I can tell you that. Yes,
the other horse is what I was meant. Yeah. You've got Serpe horse in second. So something you liked about this one in particular?
Yeah, well, Phil was the stable tour in the special on Wednesday, and he won a race on Wednesday for his second of the meet. I think he had relatively positive things to say about this horse. He's typically not a win early guy, but the sire's okay with 2-year-old first time starters, 12%. So this is just basically similar to you, I'm sure, fishing around for someone who I think might run second to the 4.
Right. I agree. Or the 3. It looks a little chalky to start the day today. Let's go to the second race. Another main special. This is for 2-year-olds again, but this is on turf. And there's been nice 2-year-old turf route horses that have been debuting as well as some serious. Let me say this, Paul. Race 8, which we're not going to talk about today, is one of the more loaded 2-year-old dirt races I've seen on paper. This meet, it's 7 furlongs. I'm going to make a very bold statement right here on the podcast. Saturday, August 31st, a Breeders' Cup juvenile starter or perhaps winner of the race at Del Mar is going to come out of race 8 today at Saratoga. Well, you made a bold statement with City of Troy. I'm going to make a bold statement. Race 8 looks loaded, Paul. I don't know if you looked at that race, but wow, there's some really good.
I did briefly, yeah. Race. Well, and you're going to see that, especially closing weekend. People still want to run up there, and they write a lot. They write as many of these races as they can, especially late in the meet. So yes.
Paul, my friend, we're thinking alike. I'm going 3.62 and you're going 3.86. I have a strong opinion, and I don't know if it's going to be correct because these are 2-year-olds. The Moyline favorite here, they're going 2 turns on turf for the boys, is the number. It is Royal Presence. It's the number 3 Royal Presence, soft favorite. Our guys Mott Alvarado. This is a nice race, Paul, with horses that have run before and horses that have not. But the horse that we like did not run on his preferred surface. And I got to tell you, the way this horse moves, I'm going to show the replay a little bit of his first race. This looks like a horse that absolutely wants turf.
Yeah, and I think all you really need to know is that Mott entered him going long on turf the first time. The race was a mile on dirt, which means it would have been a mile and a 16th on turf. They cut back to the Wilson chute when they go to dirt because they can't run a mile and a 16th on dirt. So the fact that Mott, I'm sure he left him in just to get the run. Didn't run terribly. Took some money, not a lot, but yes, you would have to think that with him wanting turf from the beginning, Buy American Pharaoh, who gets 14% wins in his turf rooters, I would say, although I would say this, Howard, I think this race is a lot less straightforward than the first race. There's a lot of ways you can go in this race.
Ghostly Presence by Ghost Zapper, excuse me. The Dam, Turf, and Sin. So obviously this horse wants turf. It's got some nice babies. Let's quickly just watch the beginning of the race of the last one. Clock Tower came back and won. This is Statesman, who's also in the race, and our choice, the number 3 Royal Presence. Watch the 1 and 4. What I want people to watch carefully is the number 4. This action is very turfy. He's got high knee action. And to me, Paul, it didn't look like he took the kickback nearly as well as the 1. And even though the 1 who's in this race beat him, you could tell right away, right here, he's got that very long high knee action. And right here he takes back, and you can just tell he doesn't like the kickback. But I mean, look at this stride. It's really long winded, and you could tell that this is a turf horse if you watch enough replays.
I would agree. And Andrea in the chat says the 3 is scratch. Race 2, 3 scratch.
No.
That's what Andrea says. That's what Andrea says.
Andrea's gonna poo-poo us? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you. Thanks, Andrea. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. And that's a bummer. Well, all right. Well, let's move on to let's go on to the other horse that we were in. I've got Statesman second. That was the 1 in that race for West Point. This horse is out of a Empire Maker dam called Icon Project, who was good on dirt, was also good on turf, and has got some siblings that can run on turf, like Fashion Business, who was a turf horse, etc. So anyway, I think experience matters a lot in these races, unless there's a firster that can really run. Now, you think number 8 early adopter for Klarovich and Franco. I'm a little bit suspect as to why Franco would be on this horse. Now, Franco certainly can run well for Chad, but Irad goes to a Pletcher, who I'm also, and Rapoli, who are not, these guys are not really known for their 2-turn turf horses first out. They're going to take a lot of money. I just found the jockey situation to be a little bit weird here. And obviously early adopter can win, but I was a little negative of the firsters against, what I thought was the 2 horses that had run before, not only 1. But I'll stick with Statesman, number 6. Talk about early adopter really quick here, Paul.
Yeah, I think the prices float up a tad on these Chad horses that train at Monmouth, but there's only so many stalls to go around, and Chad has stalls on the Oklahoma side. He's got stalls on the main track side out by the harness track. So it's not. I wouldn't look at that as a huge negative. I read Rides for Todd. I think you might be reading a tad too much into that. Lope de Vega with 2-year-old first-time starters is 26%. In turf roots, 19%. So, I do think you need to look at the board, because if this horse doesn't take money, then I probably would be a little suspicious, but especially with the horse we like out. Although I will say, Howard, it seems like in the turf roots, the experience does matter. I know you just mentioned it. Having a race seems to matter. And, for the same reasons that we liked the 3, you can look at the Statesman and say Shug McGahee is doing the exact same thing that Bill Mott is doing. Tried to run him on turf the first time, kept him in the race, ran decent, didn't run great, didn't run terribly. Didn't take a lot of money, but didn't take no money. So that's a natural place to go because very similar profile to the Mod Horse.
I agree. We'll have to see what the board looks like. The scratches are, and they're on Naira bets right now. I'll tell everyone the 3 is out. So Andrea, of course, spot on. Andrea, thank you very much for giving us that info. I'll give the scratches as we just go through the races, Paul. I'm not going to just toss them all out.
Were
right
there
now,
any
so.
in the first looking backwards?
There are not. The first is clear
Good.
as of now.
Good.
All right. So the second, the 3 is out. Chris Couples is in the chat. Well, let me bring him up. Statesman on debut was going to be a short price before the race moved to dirt. Was a lot of buzz on him. So yeah, I do like Statesman in that race. We'll see. And the 5, obviously, Battle Drum. The works on the 5 and the 8, neither one of them are great. But look, these are 2-year-olds with, that probably have talent with really high connections. But I think Statesman, I might get an okay price just because of that fact, Pete. So, or Paul. So we'll see what happens here. Let's go ahead and move on to race 3. I just dropped our picks on the screen right away. Race 3 is a allowance race, 5.5 on the turf. You see our picks on the bottom of the screen. I'm going 7, 6, 8. Paul's going 8, 7, 6. We're using the same 3. It's for New York breds. The rails are out. I should say, Paul, the weather looks like small chance of rain early in the card, very light. Heavy thunderstorms, very possible, but it looks like it'll be at the very end of the card. Hopefully it'll wait till after the card is over. That's the quick weather report from your friends at Howard Kravitz Weather Channel. Turf sprint, Paul, not my favorite. It is clear, I believe. Let me check really quick. Yes, only the AEs are out, 10, 11, 12. You're going to go with IRAD. Hey, Mac, it's Jack. This has been a frustrating horse for me over the last year or so. I'm thinking maybe IRAD's going to be more aggressive today. I'm assuming that's what you think, too.
Yes, I did think that. And, don't sleep on Jamie Begg. Jamie is not a high-profile trainer, but one of those many guys that we talk about that can train a horse. He's actually 2 for 2 with IRAD. He's only used IRAD twice in the last 5 years, and he's won both times for whatever it's at a pretty hefty ROI, as you can see in the PPs. So, yes, I did think I agree with you, Howard. I think because if you look at how he was running last year before he went on the shelf when he was at John Kimmel, he was going right to the lead. And then he comes back this year and is coming from the back. So I think you're going to see something a little more in the middle and more tactical. I think this is a difficult race. I think you could make a case for probably 4 or 5 of them. I mean, Sean Ridgemahan is winning everything from Melanie Giddings, almost won another one yesterday. Kimmel, as we talk about Kimmel, he's got 2 in here surrounding the 8. Ironically, the horse he used to train, he's got the 7 and 9. Kimmel's winning at 30% for the meet. So this is a pretty contentious race, in my opinion.
Pratt and Alvarado are not idiots, correct, Paul? Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree with that statement.
Here's where Paul's like, "Where's Howard? What is Howard trying to say? What's happened to the early speed with this horse? I mean, now he's 6. Maybe he just doesn't have it, Paul, and maybe they're just going to IRAD out of desperation. I don't know. I've got the 8 in the mix. I just don't like 6-year-olds who seem to be regressing. However, I totally understand what you're saying, and IRAD is certainly capable of winning a race. I don't know. I just want to throw that out there. Do you want to throw poo-poo back at me based on what I just said?
Well, I mean, Pratt's in Kentucky, so he was out of the picture today. Yeah, that's possibility. Another thing to remember is that race last time was with Open Company, and he's back with his state-bred friends today. So if you look, and he has run in Open Company well before down in Florida 2 winters ago. But, I do think that's a difference because if you look at the comeback race this year, after a 13-month layoff, coming back in June at Aqueduct, that's a pretty good race after a long layoff, losing to Instamatic and Final Denial. And I'm pretty sure both have come back to run okay at this meet. So, yeah, I would also – that was also a factor in my picking him that I think going back into the state breds will agree with them.
Yep, I have no argument. I think you make some cogent points, and we'll see what happens. I'm going to go with a horse you just mentioned for Kimmel. I'm going Nano Man. This is a 3-year-old. I don't mind taking younger horses at this time of year, Paul. Again, unlike the 8, I think this horse is improving. Ran a 70 buyer, now an 80 buyer. Time form's going up. Looks like this horse has more speed than many others. I think we'll sit off the 3 who neither one of us like at all, and it's going to take a lot of money, which is interesting. So we're thinking alike. I just think Twisted Filigree gives it up late and might give it up late again. Although it did run well 2-back against the number 6 horse, who I've got second, your man Alex, and you can make an argument that either one of them ran better. Watch the video for yourself. But I'm going Nano Man. I like the outside post, and I'm hoping he gets the trip. But I agree with you. It's definitely a spready situation, Paul. It's a turf sprint going 5.5 with New York breds. Let's go on to race 4. This race made me laugh, and I'll tell you why.
Oh.
There are two horses in this race, Paul, and you and I both have, pieces of ownership horses, and we're getting the game from that standpoint, so we can appreciate.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. I know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you know exactly what I'm going to say. There's 2 horses we got to talk about quickly in this race. Race 4 is a maiden 20. These are in theory, the worst horses on the grounds, or the lowest level horses, and they've, it's a $40,000 purse. They have every right to win, of course, and we're happy they're running today. It's a field of 9. The scratches are now in on the screen, Paul. Number 3, Casona is out. Number 6, Cowboy Luke is out. That changes absolutely nothing for me. Moorline favorite is number 7, Confabulation, for Brown and Franco. And there's another horse we have to talk about also in this race, the number 2, Torpedo Run, the other Chad. Why does Howard bring up those 2 horses? Well, my friend, I think you know why. I'm going 7, 4, 8. Look at this. Paul's going the same 3 in a different order, 4, 8, 7. Let's talk about the 7 first, Paul. By the way, love the name of the number 1, Jingle Bells, Jingle Bells. Let's talk about the 7. $425,000 buy, Keelan September. A good magic out of a Spicetown mare. I'm sure Connections, Klarovich is thinking, okay, we've got a monster in our hands. 1 start for 75, and then, dropping in for 20 in his second lifetime start as a 4-year-old, Paul, after being bought for 425. But I think Mr. Klarovich has got enough money. I don't think they're concerned about that. That's my top choice. I know you're going with him third.
Well, I think first. Yeah, I think the fact that they ran him in a claimer the first time out is about as telling as running him for 20 today. You see Chad run maiden claimers, somewhat frequently, but not normally right out of the chute. So you can assume, and again, I was thinking about this morning because I knew you were going to talk about it. So it's the 2 is in the same boat. You have $870,000 worth of horse flesh that you could own total for $40,000 this afternoon. You could buy both.
Unbelievable. I mean, you buy a gun runner for $450, right, at Facing Tipton, and you think, wow, I got a monster in my hands. 0 for 8 has won $20,000, and now is in for 20. What a game we play, Paul, from an ownership standpoint.
Well, I mean, to be, how about to be at the level where you say, okay, I'm going to put this horse in for 20. I'm not sure. I know Sean Flanagan owns this horse. I met Sean at the bar at Pennell's last week, one of the great restaurants in Saratoga, by the way, for all of you going up there. Sean and I have Sean's a Massachusetts guy.
Okay.
We have a very, very good friend, both of us mutual. He's got Chancellor McPatrick going in the Hopeful on Monday.
Exciting against.
But anyway, yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Howard, the thing that I think is the most noteworthy of this whole conversation: how in God's world did this 2-horse not get claimed for 25 at Monmouth last time? Chad Brown, you got a Chad Brown, you put him in for 25. And no one's dipping in. He goes off 8 to 5. No one's dipping into that pool.
And he's a PA bred. They can't find some Pennsylvania bred races to run if this horse ends up being halfway decent. Anyway,
the PA bred, as far as profitability, Howard, might be. It's right there after New York. PA is a tremendous breeding and running program.
Yeah, but he's a gelding. That's a problem.
Yeah, well, he won't be breeding himself. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I thought
They don't take a They don't take a discount on the purses, Howard, because he's missing pieces.
I understand, but they're not going to get breeding money. Is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Anyway, I understand the drop. This is an awful field. Let's just call it like it is. Blinkers on. I just thought Chad's trying to get a win here. I don't see a reason why he can't improve, and he doesn't have to improve really to win this race. So I defaulted him. Let's talk about a horse that's interesting. I think it's Conniving. I believe it's pronounced the number 4.
Conniving.
Oh, is it Conniving? Is that how you spell Conniving? Okay, my bad.
Oh.
Lane Luzzy, 0 for 65. Paul's like, I don't care. You know what though? I've got this horse second, Paul. So I hear you.
And you know, I'm going to tell you something, Howard. This is after observing Saratoga, as you know, for a long, long time. Because as duly noted, I'm very old. These guys, those stats, guys like that, jockeys, trainers, they tend to win on closing weekend. I'm not in any way suggesting there's anything nefarious going on. It could be the law of averages, but I am telling you that 0 for 60 guys, if they're ever going to win one, it's closing weekend. Now, look at this was a total. You know, I'm going to try to. I know that the Chad fire sale horses are going to take money. Maybe this horse drifts up to like 5 to 1. Look, I want no part of playing. This race is a good example of why you really don't have to play every pick 5 sequence, because this is a horseshit race to try to figure out in a pick 5 right in the middle of the sequence where the board is no help to you, obviously, when you first play it.
2 things I like about Conniving. Number 1, 3 things. Number 1, he's improving. Number 2, he's learning how to pass horses. And maybe my favorite, Paul, on the workout report, the last time this horse worked, it's on the workout report. Let me read this. Ears flopping. I love it. He thinks he's a bunny. He thinks he's a bunny. Don't you love it when like cute puppies running around, the ears are flopping? So look, I want to see these. I want to see this horse's ears flopping in the stretch and flop right to the winner's circle. Paul, I'd be fine with that with Conniving. Anyway,
Howard,
I just thought that was a very funny workout comment.
Trained by Carlos Figueroa Jr. And any of you out there who have paid any attention to New England racing over the years, Carlos Figueroa Sr., affectionately known as the King of the Fairs, was a legendary character. And his most legendary act was he once ran a horse at 2 different fairs 5 times in 8 days. 5 times in 8 days, including 3 days in a row. And you know what he said when the animal rights people came after him, Howard? He said, hey, he goes, I'm running a horse 3 days in a row. Paul Revere rode his horse around here 26 miles, and you people built a statue for him. And I'm only running a horse 3 days in a row. He was the best. I mean, the best. Ran at Suffolk, ran at Rock, ran at the Fairs. So got to root for Carlos Jr.
Last race, the pick 5, Paul. Now, this is a good race, and I have a pretty strong opinion here, as we're going to see in a moment. This is allowance optional claiming 62.5. They're on the dirt, 6.5 furlongs. There are 2 scratches, Paul, the 2 and 3. I thought the 2 could be a factor here, Top Gunner, but Top Gunner is out. It's only 6-horse field. Morning favorite is Accretive, a real nice horse for Chad and Irad. Second choice is Federal Judge. It's probably one of these 2. Let's go to our picks. I'm going to go with Federal Judge, the 5.562. You're going 6.54. What do you like about Accretive to beat Federal Judge, Paul?
Well, I get the argument on the 5. I read your Saratoga Power Picks. Always a wise investment.
Appreciate that.
You know, loan speed. But I got to tell you, Howard, this horse had no excuse last time. You know, the argument people are making for him, well, he's going to be loan speed, he's going to open up, he's going to have it all his own way. That's exactly what happened last time. Manny Franco was looking behind him. You know, it shows in the PPs he's up by a length, but you're going to see him open up to more than a length in the stretch. And this horse, he just has no excuse for losing this. Now he's cutting back. Look, he's up 2 lengths there at the 16th pole. He's cutting back a half a furlong, which is going to help. But boy, his stride is shortening there, and he gets passed by an 8-1 shot easily, and almost gets passed by a second horse. So, look at not that Accretive's going to be any price. I thought Scotland ran very well last time. Scotland is a horse for Bill Mott, who was a really, really good horse who they dropped into that optional claiming race last time, and he just got the jump on this horse. I think this is a good horse, Accretive. Again, the Chad's obviously trying to leave some horses behind in Saratoga because this one's for sale too for 62.5. But this horse is around 400,000. So it's one. Put it this: it's one of those two. I could see though the 6 getting a trip where he tracks the 5 and then catches them late.
I totally agree that this is the horse that's gonna possibly beat Federal Judge. I do not like that he's in for the tag here, Paul. Not with really high quality horses. And by the way, the work where he had a 46 breezing, which jumps off the page. Apparently, the track was very fast that morning, according to workout reports. So I don't doubt this is not very. I mean, this is a very good horse. Obviously, there's just a few signals I don't like. I really like Federal Judge. I hear what you're saying, Paul, and I could be wrong. But I mean, look, he was rusty, Paul. He's going off almost a year layoff, going 7 furlongs. It's very demanding. The Federal Judge, the 5, has been out working. Hold on a second.
Highland Falls.
A very nice, great stakes winner. So I think this horse is loose. I like the cutback. I think he's going to improve greatly. I think he's going to be very, very tough to beat, especially if he's loose on the lead, and it sure looks that way. I'm sure Irad's going to do everything he can to be breathing on Federal Judge, and maybe Federal Judge is just not as good as I think, but I really do think Federal Judge is going to win today, and he might even be second choice. So I think he will be second choice, actually. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see who's favorite. Anyway, as I promised, we're going to go through quickly today. Let's go to our best bets as I take this off the screen and bring us on. Again, very exciting today. All throughout the country, Saratoga, Kentucky Downs, and of course Del Mar later. Check out our podcast all day. We'll be on showing live racing later this afternoon with the Equine Edge boys. Paul's best bet goes to race 3. You're going with the number 8 to win in place. That is the first time Chad Brown horse, I believe. And you're going to go 8.
No, that's the Haymackett's Jack horse.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. Haymackett's Jack, the turf sprinter, New York sprinter. He's going 8 with 1, 3, 6, 7 underneath in exactas.
Yeah. Again, the first 2 races, we don't know what the board's going to say. The 4th race, I want no part of, and the 5th race, there's going to be someone very low priced winning the race. So that puts me into the 3rd, doesn't it?
Yep. I'm going to play this early pick 5, Paul. I'm going to play pretty light and press up. That's my vibe in this race. I'm going to put my best bet, some of you have not seen before. And boy, my friend, you and I are lockstep often. We think alike, for better or for worse. Not in race 5, because my best bet, race 5, as much as humanly possible, on the number 5 Federal Judge to win. I just think it's a 2-horse race, Paul. I'm a little bit of negative to Accretive, and I think Federal Judge is just going to run much better today, and he's loose. And if this horse, I'll go as low as 8-5 on Federal Judge on the win end. I mean, if he's 6-5, I'm not going to put a win bet on him. I'll take 8-5. People are like, what's the difference? It's a big difference. 1.2 to 1 versus 1.4 to 1. That's, what, 0.2. I could do some math. What is it? 15%, 20% difference, whatever it is. It matters to me. Paul's, I put the final banners on the screen. We'll let everyone know that we do have Saratoga today, tomorrow, and Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Monday, Labor Day, special closing day, Saratoga today. As of now, I am going to be going solo on Sunday, tomorrow, and Monday. I might have someone join me. I don't know yet. We'll see. But we do have Saratoga today for the last. Listen, I've been working my guys to the bone, but they're going to get a nice little.
I got to handicap the freaking Monday card anyway for the power pick. So
yes, Paul, look how excited he is too. Paul's going to be. He loves the job. Don't get fooled by grumpy Paul there. But but he's doing the power picks for Monday. Paul, as we wrap it up and toss it over to the Andes on the Naira Network, any thoughts for today, specifically 3 stake races we covered later in the card on Wednesday?
Yeah, I think those are very good races. Also, I'll be paying close attention to Kentucky Downs. We talked about the 3 at Kentucky Downs on our show the other night. I would recommend well, you have to bet them. I mean, the field, it's such great betting, but it might be worth watching that Nashville Derby pre-race, and there might be some special stuff going on around that Nashville Derby today. So I would encourage people to tune in.
Yeah, some nice Euros. And any other intel you want to throw, some Euro trainers before we leave the show? You've been unbelievable this week.
I will tell you this, Howard. If you go to thisishorseracing.com and get today's Saratoga special, I wrote a 1,500-word preview on basically every Euro who's coming to Kentucky Downs. Now, some it's just who they are, I'm not saying I went in depth on all of them. I did speak to Andrew Balding about Justin Bellum, and I did speak to Joseph O'Brien about Stromberg in the Derby today. And thanks to Adrian Beaumont, who was the International Racing Bureau representative. He was good enough to give me the rundown. Aiden O'Brien is sending 3. Howard Greenfinch, who scratched out of the Saratoga Oaks because of the minor foot injury, is coming back. Aiden's sending 3. Roger Varian. So the Kentucky Downs has caught the attention of the top Euro trainers, as if the racing had to get any better, right? So, yeah, I'll be paying close attention to that.
I wonder why. It wouldn't be the $3.1 million purse for Kentucky Breds, would it? 1.9 for everyone else. Number 9, Cameo Performance. I really like for Brendan Walsh, at least underneath in that Nashville Derby. Paul, we're going to let you enjoy the day. Thanks for coming on this morning. We appreciate everyone's viewership. Check us out later today on our YouTube channel for live racing starting at 5 p.m. Eastern. Crush your bets on the final weekend at the Spa. Take care. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.